Oh, hello, me lovelies. Well, do you know what? Something that I tried to create a banner, but it's gone wrong. So I'm going to try and create it again anyway. Hello, everyone. We're talking about autism today, but what I'm going to do, just give us a second, because I want to get this in here. So just bear with me. I'll explain what's going on. But it didn't quite work. I tried to create a banner. I don't know. I think you have to do. I don't know whether you have to do the banner live or not. But here we go. Let's see. Here. So let's see if this works. And I'm not seeing anything. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. There we go. Got it. Got it. It's done. You see, I'm learning. I'm learning as I go along. And got Paula on. So I'll let you in a minute, Paula. Just to tell people, just let me get stuff all sorted. It's sorted. What's this? Hello, Carol. Hello, the end is coming soon. Hello, Method. So where's Paula? Are you Paula, love?
Hello.
Oh, God, that's loud. That's loud. My God, you could draw in sheep on the Himalayas, couldn't you, with that voice? You could.
Fishwife. Fishwife.
That's what, yeah, fishwife. What do we call them in? We called them in Liverpool Mary Ellens.
Do you know what's had to laugh? It was when people were saying it's like I know it's just slightly off topic tonight, but for those that think that you're grooming me, and the fact that your comment alone was like, does she look like somebody that could be groomed?
Do you know what? I wouldn't even try. I'd be too frightened to ever try with you if I'd got it in my
Well,
head.
vice versa, so maybe we should get in the 3D Fight
Yeah.
Club back.
Oh, God, yeah, and sort it out. So anyway, I put on this banner. This is Baby Graham. This is Graham's son of
Yes.
Verbal Not Stupid, which we were talking about, and hopefully be able to join us as it goes on. But what we're going to be talking about again is say, this is going to be an open live for anyone who wants to talk about autism anyway, because what I want to do, just to refresh people, I want to create a new kind of thing, because too often you see people talking about autism and it seems to be a clinical debate and there's a specialist involved. But to me, I think it's better. That's what I liked about Graham. When Graham came on, he didn't know the correct terminology for certain things, but he proved that you don't have to know. As if you're living with someone with autism, you don't need to know. You'll understand it as you're going along. So here we go. Hi, Anne, can you? Yeah, I'll do it now. I'll do it now. So what I liked about Graham was that he proves that. So this is for people's own personal, and I mean,
Yes.
I don't just want to hear, oh, it's all this. Nothing that annoys me. It's the cutesy thing that almost, you know, I hate that, you know, what a shame, you know, that kind
I
of
know it's
thing.
like, no, I'd
Because
love to
guess
be.
what? Guess what? Sometimes people with autism can be right pains in the backside and can be horrible as well. And this is what I say. I've got autism myself. And I know I'm beautiful all the time and perfect, and you know, I'm loving and caring all the time. But you know, let's get real. Autistic people are people, and they call me vast range. But I hate that. Or you know that pet.
I love your whole attitude, the way you just
Yeah,
kind of brush it off. Honestly, it's like absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
but it is it is strange the way it happens. But yes, so I put it out there, Graham, if you can see it. Yeah, put it out there. Hiya, Maria. Hiya, Carol. And who's it? KR likes to go hello. No,
Hello, like a wee
Scottish.
hello.
That's Scottish. That's the one that's
Hello.
Scottish. What's the other one? You have to train me when we're waiting for more people to come in. Didn't I? didn't I?
Did I? Did
That,
you?
no,
D-I-D, yeah. So that's my oldest boy.
ENA.
Did you? I? And that's when people, if somebody comes across you and says, "Oh, I spoke to this person and I said this and that," or "I dealt with it in a certain way," you go, "Did you? I?"
That's it. Is that what it means? I thought I could never work that. I think, why? What does this didn't I mean? And I couldn't even pronounce it. And
It's
I thought,
basically it's a sarcastic comment, as in, "I did you?" Mm-hmm. Okay.
oh, I thought it meant you didn't. You see, you learn all things. Oh,
No,
thank
no,
you,
no. It's
Maria.
like sarcastic. Hi, Graham.
Well, Maria,
Well,
Maria, if ever you want to call in and discuss it, definitely
Yeah,
do.
Maria.
Because I say it's all people. So what I'm going to be doing today is talking about. Remember I was saying last week about how it's the every situation you can get to where someone with autism can be schooled to go
Yeah.
out into public and cope and survive by actually mimicking what it is. And I hate this term, but the English language is restricted to be normal, let's say, or
I
just
hate
be able
saying
to
that
get on.
normal as
I
well. You
hate
feel
it.
like you're portraying your own child as abnormal, but
I
no, I
know
get that.
there's going to be some serious, I say, some people with, especially with serious autism, that it's never going to happen. They're always going to need someone there to look after them and help them. But I was talking about that situation where two people who had who were psychopaths really had no empathy for anyone. They actually trained themselves to be able, by watching people, to be able to actually live a normal life as such by mimicking, almost like a bird. And this shows you how people who can have either autism or let's say even psychopaths or whatever can be incredibly intelligent. But of course, the psychopaths are famous for being able to mimic. They'll mimic emotions like grief
Yeah.
when they can't even feel it. They don't know what grief or empathy is. So it's supposed to different area. But I wondered if, well, I'm doing all the talking. So come on, Paula Graham, what's your view on this? How can you
I was
get
actually
to?
going to put duct tape on my mouth tonight just so I could be quiet.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry. I'm getting ready to mute you if you start going on. So
Don't you then I'm going to do a video about you calling you a bully.
yeah. So what's your views, Graham, on
Graham.
this?
yeah, you're dead on, and in honesty, and I caught a little bit where I was waiting to get the link about what you mentioned about not understanding the terminology medically, maybe, but understanding the sequence of events or the manifestation of autism in your child or people around you just by instinctively living with it and knowing about it. And to be honest, with Baby Graham's channel, that is exactly where I'm going. It's not, there's plenty on YouTube if you want to know the medical ways to deal with A, B, and C, understanding the neuronics in the brain as to how autism works, where you're on the spectrum. There's lots of content out there that I couldn't commit with or compete with, but there's not a channel out there that is solely based on bridging the gap of parenting to a child without that knowledge, without any prior knowledge. My family and Kirsty's family's mum have got no autism in the family, so there was no knowledge prior. And we've literally had to live it, grow it, and adapt to it ourselves. And there isn't much out there content-wise based on that. And I think there's a lot of people, especially me, Kirsty, would benefit from somewhere to follow where you can go, you know, someone's the same non-verbal as Graham, and is struggling to bridge that gap with the stuff you're given, which was for me absolutely useless. Not every child is going to be like that, but for Graham, didn't work. We found this way with the copy and paste I was talking about, which obviously isn't the terms, but that's what we call it. And other words that we've adapted to so that he understands and can speak back. And I think there's a massive place for that on YouTube right now. And not only that, I'm hoping that once we get the channel up, we can push towards doing more for the autistic world as a whole. So we and Paula were talking last night with Paula about it. Putting events on for parents and children of autistic.
Graham, tell Anne what you do. What you remember we were speaking the other night, and you were telling me about. It's like what you want to do is like get families together where they can come to a setting and feel comfortable.
Yeah,
And
we can
tell
provide
about the gentleman that you go and visit.
It's I can't really go into that right now, Paula, with that guy, but I will speak about it.
Yeah, no.
I specialised a lot in the music scene over years and years and years, basically. And I've got quite a big following through that. And with that, you put charity events on, stuff like that, and the music scene comes together. Obviously, that's not tailored for autistic children, especially, well, Graham doesn't like loud music, etc. But it would be tailored to the economy and the market that's already out there, which could then use that to push into funding to create days out, like Paula was saying, where we can all get together in a safe environment. Maybe rent out a place, you know, the place is soft play, etc., solely for that purpose for that day, put an event on, and mothers and fathers can get together and all chat about all their stuff, and we can really bring all of the tips of the trade, if you want, of parenting an autistic child or being autistic, and get everybody clued up on the realism of it and not just the medical term, because it only goes so far. It only goes so far.
Yeah.
And also, it's that which I think we're understanding now. Is that it's such a huge spectrum. I always say, because people who know I'm intersex, I was born intersex, and what that means is that I was born with both physical attributes of male and female. So now, in that definition of intersex, or what used to be called a hermaphrodite, it's very wide. But when you actually talk about autism, you can take that and multiply and multiply and multiply, and it also becomes, or what I see it as, and I don't know whether you'll agree with me on this, it seems to be that literally every single autistic person has their own version of what it is to be autistic.
Yes.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Age groups massively as well. I mean, for instance, I'll touch on this. I've got a best friend. She's called Claire. I speak to her every day. Her kids have been in their lives pretty much all their lives as well. We're good friends, and her son is on the spectrum massively. And he's a completely different person to what Graham is, although they both manifest things quite similar. And they're both very introverted, self-located, and just happy with their own stuff, doing their own thing, only interact with select people, don't like the big crowds, etc. That is all common in most autistic people, but it's the other things that you live with that there's no mention of. Do you know what I mean? There's no mention of how to deal with this barrier or that barrier, like bridging a gap with an autistic child. Teaching a normal toddler that a cooker is hot and not to touch it is a pretty simple thing to do. I've done that.
Yeah.
Teaching an autistic child, especially one on the spectrum where happiness emotion, he doesn't have any fear. So you can't instill fear of burning in him like you would your toddler, hot, you know what I mean, because he doesn't understand that hot's not very nice. Do you know what I mean? So even things like that, not touching plugs, not putting stuff in his mouth, it's a totally different dynamic altogether for teaching someone who's autistic. And when I was touching on Claire's son, although they're very similar in manifestations, as people, individuals, they're intrinsically massively different. And I think the diverse of the world of autism, I just think if people done what I was doing with Baby Graham and all the separate ones, that the world would be a much better understanding, and there'd be a lot more support there.
Yeah, it's this. I've always said that because I mean, years ago there was no concept. They knew there was autism, but when people said autism years ago, you thought about really, I mean, rocking and all this business. That's what put you in your mind. People have a much, which is wonderful, much not so much understanding, awareness. Even though they haven't got autism, they have awareness and they know that that is an issue now, and that's what I find fascinating about it. But I was going to ask something then about and it's gone right out of my head as usual. Oh yeah, I remember nothing. This is the little trick. Is what I used to do when I was a very young kid. I was only thinking about this the other day. I used to get, and even though they'd sting me, I'd still do it. When I was very young, I'm talking about before the age of 5, if I saw a bee on a window, I'd squash it. And it would sting me, and I'd be like, but yet I couldn't stop myself doing it. Didn't get out until I was about 5. And I think it was that my autism showing itself, that even though I was getting stung, which hurts, I kept on. I had this fascination with squashing bees on here.
You're the only person I know that would be willing to do that.
And another one.
I can't say that I can see that.
Everybody runs. There's
I
I.
haven't had that.
I used to go, I'd see a bee and just, this
Well,
until
Billy
about 4.
had his school out at the weekend, and there was a little wasp that went in the water, and he was just saying, "What's this? What's this?" He was dead close, but he wouldn't touch it. It was just swimming in the water upside down. So I just scooped it out with fur, but good enough for things like that. It's because it was moving. I think that's why I didn't touch it. If it had just been stood still, he maybe would have had a little poke.
Yeah, the little things you think back and you think, my God, there was signs there, but also on that. But talking about this water thing, I was posted a little video for. Have you ever heard of Helen Keller?
No.
The American. Well, Helen Keller, she's up there as one of the most amazing people that's ever been born. Helen Keller, she was about 18 months old when she was a baby. This is going way, way back. And she got they don't know what it was, but she got some illness, and it left her deaf, non-verbal, or what they called them, dumb, and blind. And she was like that for about 6 years. But her family were determined to not put it in what was then an institution, which was a horrible place. So they got this woman to help her, amazing woman. And she taught her there, because the only way you can communicate is by hand, fingers, because they can't see, you're doing sign language.
Yeah.
Anyway, to cut long story short, she got this method. She got it. Now, don't forget, this was someone that before she learned the system, and it was a hell of a job trying to get to learn it. She used to just literally she didn't know the world. She was just totally wild, basically wild in the way she was doing it. But how they got her, just talking about water, how the teacher got her to realize that when she was doing that to her hand, she was saying, that's the name of that, or that's what that is. Helen Keller had got water and threw it over the teacher from a pitcher. So the teacher dragged her. She lost her temper, dragged her to this pump to get new water. And she said, right, you fill this up. And she was that used to signing. As she was doing the pump, she signed water. And she said, suddenly Helen Keller dropped the pitcher and stopped and put her hand under the water. And she thought, as she got it. And she said, she got it. And she suddenly realized that meant water. Once she got that, she realized that this was a word. This meant something. She went on to be able to communicate or read Braille and write in 7 languages. Mm-hmm. She was a massive. The Nazis banned her books because they were too radical. And she actually learned, even though she'd never heard of human voice or seen this move, she learned to be able to talk. But you couldn't understand it. Imagine someone deaf that's really heavily accented.
Yeah.
But that's what can happen to a person that's given up as being basically no intelligence, going to an asylum. She ended up being one of the greatest geniuses of the last century. Just shows you that. I just thought to point that out.
No, that's amazing, honestly.
Helen Keller, look it up sometime. Absolutely amazing woman.
No, I will. It's honestly, I will, because like I spoke last week about Temple Grandin. I've learned so much from her.
Yeah, maybe you're saying about that. Oh,
and
that was amazing.
Was so interesting.
And she just got it, didn't she? She just worked it out so quickly. It was like, how did she work that out? But she did. She just worked it out.
Oh, it was amazing. It was like when she went to college, because she was living with family on the cattle farm, and she's the stage where the cows go through, and then they get kind of locked in, and then she kind of studied that, and then she kind of put herself into that position, and she realised that was calming her. I think it's a mechanism to calm the cows down. Yeah. So then she built that in her college room, and every time she was in a state of panic, she'd go into it.
Yeah, she that was
Wow.
it. She realized, didn't she? She realized that they were walking into darkness, and that's what was making
Yes.
them panic. So she made it all light, and didn't she make it so it turn or something like that? She put it like it turned, and I mean, it's horrible in the way that
She is now involved with a lot of, like, over in America. You need to Google it and things, but she plans and designs a lot of the cattle markets.
Yeah, I mean,
through
it's
that.
from a vegetarian point of view, it's not very nice, but that's what she's doing. But she did do that, but she just got it. And this is the thing that you'll find is that when, I don't know whether it's because when the brain relaxes, it's also like in the arts, you find a lot of the great artists have, they're either what we call now autistic on the spectrum, or they, have some kind of syndrome that they're getting through. And I think what that is because the brain isn't busying itself with what everyday issues, and it just focuses in on the one thing and becomes fascinated by it and just seems to take it in like a bird. As I say, it's almost like a bird. And I've always said this, like thing, no OCD when people are touching and all that. I look upon that as being a bird building its nest. It doesn't know why it's doing it, but it's doing, it's building the nest. And when people, and I think this autism as well, because the brain is working more or less on, it's not working on any rules or being told how to work. It works on its own process. That's where you can get this great intelligence, because they don't panic about it. It's like if we've got an exam, it's like, oh, I've got an exam, I've got to do this. Where they won't panic. They just relax into it. And it's like, what's the big fuss? And that's where you get a lot of genius coming from. Because if you look at the past, I mean, Mozart definitely had something. Definitely he did have something, because he was wild.
You'd be surprised how many people that have excelled in a lot of different things, from sport to art to science. The autistic. You touched on it the other night. Oh, I watched it. I think you were talking to somebody else about something else, or maybe on that video you sent me actually. It was about
the hand.
About the sciences of the brain, and Graham's got like an engineering brain. That's what I call it. The brain name. But what I mean is, he likes to problem solve. So he's not really into music. He's not really into drawing and painting. He's not really into that type of thing. But if you, for instance, them toys you used to get when you were younger, and there's a square cube with 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, star, and you had the pieces where you had to push them into the right place to get inside the cube.
Yeah.
So Graham had one of them at school in his other nursery, and someone had pushed a dinosaur inside of it. So all the kids during the day had been there, but they tried to get it out, couldn't. And Graham sat there for 45 minutes until he worked out which hole that was coming out of.
That happens.
We've got a report on it from the nursery that's like
amazing.
But he does it with everything. Anything that spins, he'll go on his channel if you visit his channel, which I've just seen the banner there, and that's great. So anybody wants to try that channel, you'll see on there anything that spins, lights up, bubbles, moves, kinetic things. Graham is just fascinated with. He sees like this. It's what he likes. But if you put him down with paper, he's just not bothered.
Yeah, that's it. You can't force them to do it.
I think with autism, it's almost like they live in their own world. That's why in Graham's description I put like in his little world, because in his world, the things that we worry about, they don't even consider.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think the brain can. That's why I think it can go on to another level where the brain will become almost to the point of being genius. I remember when I was doing the ballet as a child, especially when I was very young. I'd practice and practice and practice the same movement, the same exercise, and I'd do it again until I got it perfected. And people said, "Why you?" And when things sound say, and they thought that this was a great sound. They used to go, "Oh my God, look at that! Practicing all the time. Gotta be in the ballet. Gotta be in ballet. That's the future." But it must have been the autism shown through that was making me do that. I just used to love these movements and think, oh, I've got to get this right. And I'd want to be the best one doing it. But that soon changed as I got older. It was like, does this life ever end? Because, of course, in ballet, There's no such thing as taking a break in ballet. You know the way you hear fighters. I heard all these 3D fights and all that. Oh, I'm getting back into training. You can never not get out of training in ballet. You just can't do it. You have to keep it up. Anyway, Steve, how are you doing? Well, Steve's gone to sleep. You muted. That's it.
Yeah, I was on mute. I was giving you a chance to do your chatting. I've just got scenery to offer.
So, what's your view on this subject matter, Graham? Steve, sorry.
You know, I'm very sensitive to all disabilities or all natural births and the future issues with health and stuff. You know, is why I keep going, which is why I keep living.
Yeah. You
a lot of people can't do this walk that I'm doing. You know, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
But yeah, so Paula, do you have anything to add to this subject?
But the autism side, again, it's
about
like
the intelligence side of it.
Yeah, the intelligence side. It's like when I watched like Temple Grandin, the people like parents question her and saying, "Look, my kid likes this, my kid likes that. What they're good at?" And she's like, "Focus." So that's when I focused on my daughter, and it was like computer. She loves computer stuff. She can sit and work anything out on a computer, and that's her that's her way of thinking to a certain degree. Because she's got no interest in anything else.
Yeah, David Paula, he's got a tablet on his big, he'll safety channel, he's channel loads, and he's on like level 307 or something on Angry Birds. Like it's a game. Yeah. You know what game it is where it's about the travel where it's 300 nod on it, and like it's not by chance. You see him moving it, and getting it, and I've watched him. Games where
but you don't want your kids like constantly being in front of television computers. But if that's their solace and that's where they're designed to go, then you let them do that.
It's not games like Angry Birds, but a lot of it's like learning stuff.
Now this is what. But you said something interesting there, Paula. And I was thinking this the other day. I was watching someone, I won't say who it was, and she was saying her daughter was autistic. Don't know how severe, I'll give you that, autistic she is, but she's autistic. But this person is like on every chat show that's on YouTube. They seem to be on it. It's like 24/7. And I'm like, well, where is this child that she's looking at? I think the child's about 10. Where is this child?
Why are you, my concern would be, why are you on all these channels? What are you actually doing to help this child? Because if you're on all these chats, focus on the care you could get around your area, like I do.
No, what I'm getting is, Paula, is that, is it sometimes that because some forms of autism can be like that, it can be solitary. In other words, they want to be on their own, and we've got like that. But we've got the technology now that people can be on their own. You can literally be on your own and communicate with the world and never go out your front door if you want.
Well, definitely.
Is that a thing that we should be actually trying to challenge and say, no, you've got to get out into the world because you're becoming more and more isolated?
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree, yes, because like my daughter Siri, she's 11 now, and she's got everything plus more which she wants in her room. But if I try to go in and sit beside her, like a mother-daughter thing, it's like, can you just leave my room, Mum? She doesn't want me sitting there. But again, it's like I used to torture myself and go, she's just secluding herself and isolating herself. That's not good. But all you hear is giggles and laughter. But that doesn't make it any better for me. It's like she's still isolating herself.
Yeah.
She needs to get out in the friendship area. She needs to experience it.
Paula, can I ask, do you drive? Do you drive with your daughter?
No. I actually went out and bought. No, she's got starting to have walking issues. So rather than wait for like, you know, the paediatrician and specialist and such, I went and got her a wheelchair myself, and it only cost me £130 off eBay. And the thing was, it was like a pink framed one, And the minute I showed her that, she went, "That means I can go back outside more, mummy."
Yeah,
And
nice.
that was
Yeah.
solid. That was solid to myself.
Yeah.
She'll walk so far. She'll raise her hips and her wee bum will kind of stick out, and one of her feet goes out the way, and she kind of marches. But it's like tunnel vision. And that's when I went, "Do you know what? I'm going to get her a chair, because we struggle to get her out on a daily basis, because she can only walk literally 5 minutes and her legs and her hips get sore." So I went, "I'm going to get a wheelchair. That way we can get out." And we do. We're getting out a lot more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you want to ask something, Steve? I could hear you
Yeah,
trying-
because I honestly trust that getting out and exploring and experiencing places, you can, if you had a transport, you'd still be able to include the computers along your travels. When you get to places, you'd see where your daughter or your friends would thrive in the environment you take them. And I think it is fair that we explore the different availabilities, you know, because a long time these people have been set back and kept back for their disabilities. But I think a lot of people have got a lot to show and share, or a lot
Yeah.
to explore, you know, where, I
Yeah.
trust in that myself.
This
So
subject,
Graham, what?
that's what Graham's whole channel's about. That's why it says non-verbal
Yeah.
substitute.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the message I'm getting out, is that although Graham will always be a vulnerable person, that's in adulthood as well, because of the nature of the autism he suffers from. And that's just a given. That doesn't mean he can't be in the community, he can't
Yeah.
do independent things or live a semi-independent life with the care of those around him, or have significant best friends, etc., that are understanding. But the only way he's going to have an adult life as normal as possible and be safe while doing it is if the understanding of the community is that autism is something to be cherished, not to be
Yep.
looked away from. It's something that it's a beautiful thing in this community, that realistically a lot of the technology that we use now and things that we're into is all based on trends set by people with autism. Essentially, a lot of the
Yes,
big
mate.
brains in the world are
Yes,
autistic.
nicely pointed.
Do you know, I just want to say, Killshot Kenny here has just said something which I think a lot of people will relate to. I've been trying to go private to try get a sensory nurse out for my granddaughter, as the NHS has been knocking appointments back, saying the nurse is on sick leave. I've contacted secretary. Do you know what? I hear this so much times from people with children with autism who are struggling. They just don't get the help that they need, or it's
No,
like
don't.
and I had a neighbour. I had a neighbour, and one of the children definitely was autistic. You could tell, and they were struggling to cope, because my own personal view is they had some kind of, I don't know whether it was autism, but they had some issues, intelligence issues, but it made things worse for them trying to get help. It made it so stressful, just the process of getting help. They were literally banging their head against the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like,
the only advice I can give anyone, because of
Oh, there's somebody calling.
which was
It's not me.
Steve.
it's basically the only advice I give anyone trying to get a diagnosis with a small child with autism is they don't really like doing it before the age of 5. That's a given. I think that's common knowledge. What we do,
different in places, Graham, because my nephew's child was diagnosed as a baby.
yeah,
And that was
Baby.
2 years ago.
How could you diagnose a baby then?
I don't know. And he has got severe autism now. Severe autism. It's different areas, and because when I stayed in Fife, we had seen different differences with Siri, and we spoke to the nursery, can we get a put back? And it was like, no, we can't give it back a year. And it's like in certain areas, it's like your birth dates, the way your birthday falls in. So that's why I moved back to Glasgow.
Yeah.
So the minute I moved back to Glasgow, everything gets set in place.
Just wait a minute, Steve. Can you put
Steve,
yourself
what's
on
going on?
mute?
I know.
Because I don't know what the hell you're doing, but you're making a racket there. So can you, when you're not talking, can you put yourself on mute? Because if I put you on your mute, I won't know when you want to speak. I'm gonna have to put it on. I'll tell you what.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Let's see.
I apologize. I was just having a conversation. I realize it interferes with
Anyway, so what I want to say, I'm just going to read some of this, the comments, because some amazing comments coming up. Too many massive cuts to social care over the years. It's so sad. Well, do you know what, Carol? Right, I don't know whether it's the result of the cuts or not, because I had an issue a while ago, and a few years ago, and they have Mercy Care in Liverpool, and they go on the radio shows, and they're all like, you know how wonderful they are, just come to us for help. And I'm sorry, I know people that have gone to Mercy Care for help, and they are rubbish to an insulting way. Apparently the CAB is supposed to do everything since the Vice Bureau, I've been told by you. So I phoned up the local radio station when they're on and gave them hell. And I said, you're liars. I said, you're just coming out giving me a propaganda. I said, you don't help people. I said, so why you tell? And know when you write to them, because I wrote to them to ask them about this, I said, I'm getting told that when people go to you, rude to them. Do you know they sent back a reply and didn't even sign it with a name? And I said, well, whoever you are, mystery person. Now, when someone does that, you know something's bad going on.
Yes.
So you could have as much money there as you want, but unless the people in that service give a damn, it's not going to work. You could have a service that didn't have much money, but the people are passionate about it, and it will work. You can have millions and millions of pounds in it, but if they don't care, it's not going to work. And that's what I've always said, it's not going to work. So it's not always a case of cuts. No cuts will have an effect. It's also a case of people in the job that don't give a damn. And that's not a popular thing to say about the NHS, but I'm sorry, I don't buy into this angels and stuff like this.
No, do you know what bugs me when it comes to NHS? And it's like, if I go, like, so I've been, my daughter's on liquid melatonin, and I put the prescription in last Monday, and I'm still waiting for it. Because apparently they're trying to source it, and I'm like, no, I've worked for Lloyd's Pharmacy before. That's not how it works. And again, it's like you go in and you just try to get like that melatonin's to help stable her and to help function her. But if I've not got that, I can't do anything. But when you go into the chemist, and I don't mean this in a bad disregarding way to anybody, but see when I'm standing in a queue for 5 minutes plus more, and I'm waiting for my daughter's prescription. Through her having autism, no fault of her own. And the one thing that bothers me is, it's like each their own, but it's the ones that go and get their methadone. They seem to be able to skip the queue. And that's when I do stand up and go, whoa, wait, what's going on here? Should they be standing behind us? That's not how it works. My daughter's got something wrong with her. That's, well, no wrong with her, but that's something on her that's not her fault. This is something that's self-inflicted. So why is my daughter having to wait longer than this person? It's the only thing I've really got an issue with, honestly, when it comes to the NHS. It's thinking the NHS.
The only thing I'll pull you up on, Paul, right, and I'm not being funny, I used to work with drug users, right, and in the probation service, and I always said one thing, you have to physically get onto drugs, right, to be addicted to them, but literally, as I used to say, and I used to took this message into the police because the police just have no time for drug users. So I've known drug using police officers, and I used to say to them, you always say, "There for the grace of God go I," because if I was lucky enough not to be brought up in that say where all my friends were using it and all that, but if I was in the situation where all my peers were using it, would I really say, "Oh no, I'm not going to use it"? And that's what I think. That's the thing I always think about them. So I wouldn't say it's like. Yet they have got themselves on it, but the thing is, society and circumstance can put them on it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because of
no, definitely. But when it comes to like my young daughter, and I'm standing in a queue, and I'm having to wait for her medication.
Yeah, I know you.
Because they're trying to find that source to get that medication, and it's like, this is in order to help her. But then you see somebody just skip it's just literally skipping the queue. And again, it's no disregard to them. I don't know the reasons why they've been on the stuff. My dad died of cirrhosis of the liver through alcoholism. So I would never judge anybody
Yeah.
in the situation. But I don't agree with the fact they can skip the queue when it comes to NHS. Why do they get to skip?
Yeah,
Stand
I know
in
what
the
you
queue
mean.
like we all are.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't mean that. I get what you're saying, but I didn't mean that in a way of.
Oh, I know what you mean. That's
Yeah,
why I
no.
didn't say.
Do you know what? Listen, see, until you can never fully understand unless you're that person that's in that position having to take it. And my heart goes out to those people, because it's not a cowardly way. It's not an excuse to get out of the situation they're in. It's just a way, a blocking mechanism. So no, I would help anybody in any situation. Do you know what I mean? So no.
But I'll tell you a little funny story just to lighten things up about when I worked at the probation. The nurse there, she was telling us, she said, oh God, she didn't tell us the name of the person was, but we could work it out. And she said, I've just seen something I never thought I'd seen. This user, she was on methadone, right? And she was on a high grade methadone. So you can imagine how heavy a drug user she had been. Anyway, she came in and she said, oh my God, I forgot to get me prescription. I forgot to come for me prescription. She said, I ran out of it 2 weeks ago. And the nurse was thinking, said, so if you use? She said, no. She said, I just forgot. She said, I simply forgot. And she thought, no way. She said she'd be on the floor shaking at all this if she didn't have a gear, if she'd run out. So anyway, she tested it and she said, I swear down, she said she was as clean as anything. So she said to me, she said, wait a minute, she said, you've gone 2 weeks. No, a week, sorry. She said, you've gone a week. And she said, you've forgotten, you didn't know. She said, well, why not just give up? And know what the woman said? She said, because I know now. She said, I've realised. She said that I didn't have it. And she said, now that I've realised I haven't got it, she said, I'm going to get all the shakes and all that. She said, because of that. Isn't that amazing? The power of the mind, because she didn't think about it, she didn't get any withdrawal effects. But when she realised, she knew she'd get the withdrawal effects. Isn't that amazing how the mind works? If you could just forget you were a drug user.
If you try to stop smoking, some people, it's harder if they don't have cigarettes in the house.
Yeah.
But other ones find it easier it's more self-control if they've got cigarettes in the house.
Oh God, not with me. Not with me.
No, but it's just it's how the mind works. Like you're saying, it's crazy how the mind works.
God, I had a hell of a time giving up smoking. It was not an easy job, but believe me, it was drama all the way. It was like going to see King Lear. It was with me kicking off every 5 minutes. Anyway, Graham, you're too quiet. Come on, you're sitting there looking like Princess Leia with you.
Come on, hurry up. Ansel told me to shut up yet. Come on, she's begging for me to talk. That's how bad it is.
Begging for you to talk. Well, my take's a little bit different than what you said, Anne. I mean, I do understand that side of things as society can push doesn't accept my right, but because of my life experiences, I believe everybody essentially has always got a choice at the end of anything. Doesn't matter what pressure is applied, doesn't matter who you're around, what the scenario is. It's a choice. It's the same. You could put drug addiction and like the start of drug addiction into the same thing as a domestic violence relationship, or being a violent person, or being a bank robber, or being a criminal. It doesn't matter. I personally have known people from all walks of life. I am a counsellor stage person. I was dragged up. I know everybody, and I know what you know what I mean. Like that's that.
It's like getting the house. That's the dragged up way.
I could see avenues everywhere that I could go personally, and I made my choices, and I'm sitting here with my lights jumping out. But I do believe it doesn't matter, because I know I've got family that I don't speak to that are addicted to drugs, and they were around me. I've got friends that have took drugs that have been around me. That doesn't necessarily mean that I've chosen. If I went down the route of becoming an addict by choice or not, I couldn't then rely on the whole, well, it's not my fault because it's the people I'm around. To a degree, yes, but again, it's essentially a choice to take.
You've got to take responsibility. You've
got to. But when you're young,
violence, you are brought up around it, it's all you know, so that's kind of the excuse for doing it. No, it's essentially a choice.
Yeah, but when you're talking about addiction, I mean, addiction, it's different from domestic violence. Addiction is the thing that really
I
goes
just mean
out
the
of
life
control.
choice. That's all. I mean the life choice. I don't mean in
Yeah.
literal.
But yeah, it's a fascinating subject. But I always had that
Yeah.
sort of no viewpoint that, even though I've only ever taken part once in my life and I didn't like it, so I never took it again. But I knew people, I say, a couple of dancers who were drugging up. Well, actually, there must be a load now. Dancers now do something because the pressure on them. But it's a fascinating subject. But getting back onto the
What
subject,
would be good to see would be a statistic of how many drug users are classed as autistic. I mean, just for the
I
viewpoint
don't
of
think it would. I don't think it matters whether you're autistic or you're
I just
no.
have to see
Yeah,
how many autistic people
yeah,
make the same life choices from the
Mhm.
same areas. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it would be worth looking at.
It would be fascinating to see, as you say, what would be the results if there was something in that either stopped people with autism or the majority of people with autism from taking drugs, or if
Yeah.
it could be worse. You never know which way it can go. Because, and this is nothing you've got to be careful of. When someone's, and I've said this before, people say, no, they were diagnosed with this mental health issue, that mental health issue, when they're still using. And I used to say, you can't be diagnosed when you're
You
still
can.
using. You can't.
No. Mm-hmm.
That's it, because you've got to be clean so they can see what the basis of your personality is and your
Yes.
brain function. And they go, oh, I was diagnosed with autism. And it's strange. Sometimes autism, it's like dyslexia, can be a trendy thing to claim to have with some people. I don't know why, but they claim as, I think it's like an excuse for it. They think that they say they're autistic, they can get away with strange behavior or, insulting behavior. Oh, I'm autistic. It's like, no, you're not. Or, oh, I'm dyslexic. Oh, no, you're not. And it's like this. So it seems to be a strange little excuse now going on. Have you noticed that people are claiming to be mentally ill or have autism or have this or have that, and you think, no, you haven't. You just use this as an excuse.
This is where I get annoyed with people, because they blame the government,
Mm.
and everybody else apart from the ones that basically muck up the system.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, I've actually been watching on BBC iPlayer, and it's like the scammers, and one of
Oh,
them,
yeah.
yeah, and one of
Yeah.
them, Rav Wilding, and one of them was like the mobility one, and it was like the people that abuse that sort of system. It's people that abuse the system that muck it up for those that are really in need.
Yeah.
So don't go and blame the system. Blame all the people that you sit with, and these are all
Yeah.
digital and social, and these are all having a good laugh. The reason why there's cutbacks and there's more security and there's more, we need more proof, we need more evidence,
Yeah.
because these have took the system for granted. And again, it's like people with disabilities. It's like my daughter, I've got to apply for her DLA every 2 years, even though she's still diagnosed as autistic.
Mm.
Last year, they put her money down £100 less, even though her conditioning is worsened.
Mm.
And it's like, but you can try and appeal it, doesn't work, but you've got to wait another 2 years. And it's like, there's people walking about claiming they can't walk, but then you've got the real life diagnosis here in front of you with all the specialists, all the letters, and that's still not good enough.
Do you know what? This is the thing, though, Paula, right? And this is so infuriating. You see people on YouTube, right, and they're going on, or mental, and they're on the PIP and they're on this and the other. Next thing, they're running around the country. And it's like, that is not
That was my whole
being
point when it
disabled.
came to all the stuff online. Again, I don't want to go off topic because this is all
Yeah.
about the story. But as somebody that goes through the mental health and depression, and I even spoke to you last week, remember? And I says to you, I'm taking some time off. And I spoke to you about how my doctor had upped my medication and stuff because of what's been going on online. And the way it's going right now, it's absolutely vile and disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. You know, if you like somebody, then you get targeted.
Mm.
And again, it's like with the benefits and the road trips. I put the video up as a victim to say, and again, it's like, I'll come online, I'll be so confident, but sometimes it takes a lot for me to walk out my front door. Plus, I've got my kids to think about, and then everything outside that front door. I'll cook for all my kids, but I tend to pick and don't really have a full meal. Socialising, I'm a hermit and a recluse. So see, when you see that people are putting stuff up saying, we're going to help the victims, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, right? But
Yeah,
all
that's
you're doing is
rubbish.
showing your fancy meals, your restaurants and your hotels. That is not,
But-
I'm not saying don't go and do
Yeah.
that, but give the
No.
victim some sort of result.
I
You're
think
not doing that.
I think what it is, Paula, this is the way I look upon it. I think I don't know when I said I was talking to someone. I don't even know whether I did it on live. I was talking about, depression, and when people are depressed. Now, there's clinical depression, which is a horrendous thing, I'd imagine. Never had it, thank God, but it's a horrendous thing. But in the past, if you were depressed and you couldn't get out of bed or get out of your house, you starved. You just starved. There was no benefit system. There was nothing. And I can
Everyone shut their
remember.
doors. Nobody wanted to help.
No one
Nobody
did, but
wanted
I
to know.
went through, right? I remember I went through hell from the age of, I'd say, 14 to 18. I was continually suicidal. Even though I'd never done it, I was continuously. I still had to get up. I still had to go to my class. I still had to go into rehearsals. I still had to stand on stage. I still had to do all of it. And now you say, I think what it is that now it's become that, we should talk about depression, but it's got the way that there isn't the structure there to say, but still get out, do a job if you can to keep your mind distracted. And if you're suffering in the job, if they have the backup to help you. Now, I know that you didn't have the backup years ago, you had to get on with it. Even now in the theatre, if you've got mental health issues, tough. That's not what they're interested in. You just have to, and lots of people do have mental health issues in the arts because it's such a stressful job to be in. But you just have to get on with it, because at the end of the day, they're not interested. It's like, either you can do the performance at the end of the day, or guess what? You're out. It's not our issue if you're. But I'm not saying that. I don't want to mean callous and say that people with
No, you're not
depression
being
shouldn't be
callous.
getting help. But I think now what it is that it's with some people, it's become not let's get over this and become productive or whatever. It's become a thing of let's accept this as a lifestyle. And what the government
What can
will
we
do,
do
the
to
government will
change
pay
this?
me.
You know, I mean, Graham, like baby Graham's mum, obviously used to have got a good relationship and use support and help each other, which is immense, especially if you've got an autistic child. But for me, I've not got that side of support. So there's a vast difference, and that's where the mental health comes into it as well.
I was just going to jump in there. We went on to something else, but the question that I had asked was about, is autism becoming a trendy thing amongst people and that? And I've got, on my experience, I've got a 17-year-old son as well, and he's brought up in the past. I think I've got this dad. I think I've got that dad. Blah blah blah. And I mean, we'll support him in anything that he feels he needs help with, or his diagnosis or whatever goes on. But having said that, I did touch on the subject with him as well to say, the people that he hangs around with, like it is becoming. Unfortunately, autism is probably one of the most beautiful disabilities out there as far as disabilities go. The way they manifest themselves and what can be created because of that disability is usually a beautiful thing in one manner or another. So I think because it's got a positive light with it in some respects, it has become trendy to suffer from something like autism in children as well, even youngins, 14, 15, 16. now it's like you hear them all talking about, oh, they made this, or like I suffer from that, or which 10 years ago, even in my life, I never heard of that. So it is becoming trendy, which is probably why the NHS is so unwilling to diagnose.
Everything's got a label on it now, and I used to say, I mean, I don't get any support or anything, but again, I'm high functional autism, but I never got any support, or I wasn't diagnosed till late in life. But yeah, I first saw this happening in 2014. You know, when it was all the VIP maps, minor attracted people. You have to be careful how you say that word. So let me just tell people I use that word because if you use the P word or the N word, YouTube will pull you on it. But what I want to say is that I remember you see it, and it would start off, and honestly, you'd see it, Graham, you'd see it, Paul. It would have on Twitter. This is you'd have on the profile.
Mm-hmm.
It would start off, oh, I am a victim of CSA. Then you'd go back a couple of months later, I have PTSD. Then you go back later, I have this. And that I've got autism. And it'd be like the list was getting longer and longer and longer and longer. And I thought, no, what you're doing is you're just saying, right, I want people to be sympathetic to me and think that I'm, it was like the victim thing, that way. I want to be, but they become self-warriors.
Yeah.
But but that's what's happening now. It's like I've got this, and you can tell. But actually, you can't with autism. You can't always tell when someone has generally got autism because, I say, when you get to the higher, no one twigged with me. It's only when they're around me for a while, and I don't see it.
But I can see it with you. I can see it with you with your honesty and your straightforwardness, and it's like there's no cutting corners.
Yeah,
and that's my daughter. I call her Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I'm like, she will just say it how it is.
Do you know your daughter, Paula?
People mistake you, and
do you know your daughter? You most probably won't see this at the moment, Graham, but you might have seen it, Paul, with your daughter. Does she ever think, because this is what I've gone through a life of doing, and people go, okay. And I'll either be pulling a face or something with that I don't know I'm doing. That was what used to be my problem for a long time. When I'd be sitting there, and I wouldn't know I was doing these strange facial expressions or eye movements. And they'd always go, you okay? But I'd be like mystified. Is that odd? I couldn't. Does your daughter ever think, why do people think that this is strange what I'm doing? Has she ever done that?
Well, her communication, it's like she doesn't really explain how she feels, but
yeah.
Like if somebody comes into the room, I don't have loads of people come in the house, but if she's not seen somebody for a while, she kind of just does that and puts her head down, and she closes her eyes. She won't give my contact.
Classic,
she won't give my contact. She's got her traits. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's very expressive, and she's very expressive to the point where if she feels you're not listening to her, she'll start to throw things.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's where it's a point where it's like we're struggling to get her to go to school, but the support came in, and it was like to the point where my daughter was like scaling herself up on her back up against the corner of her wall, and she was like, Mum, get them out of my room. And I was like, get out of room. I says, you can't keep trying to force and push her. And she's looking at me and, help me, Mum. I says, I'm not going to falter that for anybody. You know, it's like, get away from her. She's really upset. And if you don't get away from her, she's literally going to throw something that's going to hurt. She will. She doesn't care. She'll always be straightforward. She'll tell you exactly how she feels.
So what happens when a child will not go to school? Refuses point blank. Anyone have that problem?
I have got a support worker from the social work department to help. And I've got a CPS worker to come in and try and get her to go to school. But the last few months, the CPS worker has been building up a relationship with Siri. Because again, it's, do you know, it all boils down to attachment issues. It really is. Because now my son at 9 is not wanting to go to school. And it's just basically, although Siri's autistic, Lennon isn't, but it's attachment issues because their dad passed away 4 years ago at Christmas, and again, it's like it's no sympathy, because I can seriously, I'm quite good at taking care of my kids, but there's only so much a mum role can do. You can't do the father role. So that's where I kind of feel I failed at certain things, because I try to do my best, but I've not got that kind of role thing. And again, when the support workers, I spoke to them, they're too scared to leave me. They don't want to leave me.
So that's typical for autism. Is the attachment to Graham's exactly the same. When it comes to me or his mum or his close, he's just so loving. But with anybody brand new, there's no communication or interaction whatsoever. You know what I mean? He's very selective. So that's vindictive of an autistic child, is to be that way, and it's the separation. And with them is massive because of the whole world of being understood. I suppose it is. It's our attachment. I haven't had that with Graham. Graham loves nursery, fortunately. But I mean, he's got a lot of support in his nursery. He goes to a really good nursery. And we've also got support at Portage that goes in, and they have one-on-one staff just for Graham. So I can't fault them.
That's amazing. That is so good.
Penny, I don't know how this works, this YouTube. I can't really speak to you on chat right now. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to. But if you want to get in touch with me, just grab us on Facebook. It's Graham Rapid Emerson. Send a message and I can send you all of the information that the route I went through with getting baby Graham diagnosed. Just answer the question.
Yeah.
But it is a fascinating subject, and I say we'll have many, many, many more of these discussions on here, because the more I say you talk about it, the more people, and especially people in the chat, don't forget, anyone can call in at any point and give their own views, whether you've got autism or whether you have, because I've said to you before, I was diagnosed very late, and yet it was there all my life, the signals that's, but they didn't, I say, years ago, they didn't understand it as well.
That's a big thing for you, though, Anne. You've had that to deal with, plus like your intersex situation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, that's what kind of drawn to me to your channel, was like when you said like back in the day. Yeah. It was behind closed doors, and that's. I'm only 44, but I get what you're saying. It's like a lot of things were kind of just shut away. So the fact now that you're able to come and speak out about these sort of things and even talk about it.
Shall I tell you something, Paula, right? The autism is much, much easier to talk about. The intersex is horrendous.
That's why I get annoyed, right?
Honestly,
personally get annoyed.
It's to the point. Let me finish this, right? The point is, it's to the point, and I've said that if anyone has said to me, which would you rather talk about? And have an easy life, I'd say the autism, definitely. When I talk, I don't even have to talk about intersex. The absolutely horrendous abuse. It's Nazism, a modern force of Nazism. It's disgusting. And these are the same people that are doing this, that are going, oh, I've got mental health issues and I'm trying to give up drugs. And yet they're slating me for being born a certain way. But again, I'm not going to labour that one. But if it's a choice, but I can tell you now, if anyone's under the illusion that speaking out about being intersex or having any other diagnosis like that is easy, it's not. The hatred, you're literally hated for having been born, where the autism is much, much easier to talk about. But it's people who claim that they've got autism themselves and all that attack me for being, I think it was about being intersex, but that's another thing. But what I want to do, I'll wind this up now. Now, come on, I want you to tell me, Graham, what would you like to talk about on next week's show?
What I was going to suggest was, I mean, this is a Tuesday night. Generally, I don't have Graham on a Tuesday night. But what I was thinking about was if I could maybe get him, I mean, I can have him whenever, if I could get him for Tuesday night, and I could maybe set something up where he could be in the background and we can kind of maybe talk about this.
We could change the day. It doesn't have to be Tuesday.
Well, I have him pretty much all weekend, every weekend, from Friday to Monday, pretty much.
What we'll
But I
do,
do-
get on Facebook and we'll arrange something, and that will be
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. And you're looking lovely, Paula. You are. You've got. Do you know what? You've got a lovely cat. There's a hue on your face, which is lovely. It is.
like a blue.
Yeah, it's a. You look. Know what you remind me of? Krishna. You know Krishna,
Who?
the
No.
Hindu god. You don't know who Krishna is? Oh, she's got to get back to school, Graham. She's got to get back to school. You don't know who the god was, Krishna?
No, I've just
The
been
Hindu
sat
god.
mistaken too
He
long.
was blue. He was blue. Oh, lovely looking fella, Krishna.
See what happens? This is what happens when you don't get involved with the drama and you
Yeah.
cut ties with the negative Nellies.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
trust
know.
me, no,
The de-
I've cut all ties. I've
The-
cut all ties.
The Debbie Downers. Anyway, so
Yep.
I'll say to people in the chat, thank you very much. I'll be on Video Craig's. They said Video Graham's then. Video Craig's. I'll be on Video Craig's. after
YouTube channel
this.
coming soon, Video Graham. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
anyway, so we'll
Thank you,
see each
Anne.
other again next week. Oh, thank you. No, thank you for coming on because I'm finding this and thank you for putting it with my when I bite at people.
And you didn't have to tell me to shut up once
Sure, I know
tonight.
you're learning.
Results.
You're learning. So anyway, take care, me darlings. Bye bye.
Thank you, love. Much love,
Bye.
Anne. Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.